We're wrapping up the week on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about what maybe not everybody's talking about, but people around the world certainly discussing. The big game this Sunday. It's that time of the year when we celebrate the highest holy day in the United States. It's the Super Bowl. Debbie and I want your takes today about, we playfully titled the show, How Do You Celebrate the Super Bowl? But Debbie, it's become almost like this religious ritual for a lot of people.
I know people that have yard signs and hang up banners in front of their house and dress in the appropriate colors and deck out the whole entire inside of the house with the team that they love. Wow. I've never seen such energy put into a secular event ever. I mean, it's amazing. It truly is amazing how Super Bowl has become this phenomenon, and it really has taken over that particular Sunday every year where people gear up. I mean, you even go to party stores and you see all, rows and rows of Super Bowl plates and cups and all sorts of things that you can add to the experience. It's a very interesting topic, Jerry.
Well, yeah, and it's more than just taking over that Sunday. I've often jokingly said about Wednesday before the Super Bowl, I think the network that carries it, they start their pregame show. Pregame TV coverage like on Wednesday before the game, or so it seems. But I know they have about, 6 hours of pregame. I think it's 54 hours until kickoff right now, and who knows, a lot less than that until the pregame show. But what we want to hear from you, our listeners today, has to do with the Super Bowl. Debbie, the first few Super Bowls, the NFL could not give tickets away. I mean, people just were like,
how come?
It just wasn't of any real interest or anything. See, this is all about, you're going to love this, Debbie, because you've got a marketing background. This has all been created to be this huge spectacle and a can't-miss event, I think largely because of marketing. I mean, buried beneath everything else is actually a football game, believe it or not. But you got to peel back a lot of layers to get there. So, dear listeners, what do? Do you watch the game? Do you protest it and say, you know what, I'm keeping my TV off? It's on the Lord's Day, so maybe you just choose to be out with the family doing something spiritual or prayerful, or do you gather at friends' houses? Do you get face paint on? Do you have your big puffy number one finger? Do you prepare your favorite chili? What about the commercials? Do you tune in for the commercials? Yeah, a lot of people tune in, Debbie, believe it or not. This is the irony of the Super Bowl. Because most of the time, when you're watching TV, you can't stand when the commercials come up. On the Super Bowl, people can't wait.
Well, they spend millions on them, Jerry. I know people that just tune in for the halftime show. But I have to tell you, so many times the halftime show to me is quite distasteful, and it doesn't even sound good. It sounds like hollow, like the acoustics don't sound right. But I know people that just tune in for that. I have to tell you, Jerry, and please forgive me, and I'm a sports, I love sports and everything. I fall asleep every time the Super Bowl is on. I don't know why. It just seems to me slow. I don't know.
Well, I could speculate on that. One of the reasons might be that the buildup and the hype for so long is so intense that really a lot of times when the game comes, it's anticlimactic anyway. I mean, last year had a really fantastic finish, but all right, dear listeners, it's Friday. We're kind of chilling out today. It's not a deep, heavy topic, but we're talking about Sunday's game between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. First time that two number one overall picks in the draft quarterbacks have faced each other. So do you get into the game? Do you bet in pools? Do you put a little money down on the office pool? We can talk about that. A lot of things we can discuss here with your takes, but only your takes drive the show at 1-800-585-9396.
Jerry, I think we should share with our listeners how you got your start in media. Would you like to share?
Well, I've been a sports fan all my life, and so in high school, I used to pretend that I was a big-time sports announcer. I used to play all the boys' sports, but the girls' sports, a friend and I hooked up reel-to-reel machines and took athletic tape and rigged up these headsets, and we would call the games. And so I ended up going to broadcasting school, and my first 10 years in radio, I did football and basketball play-by-play. So yeah, I loved it.
Wow. So that was was it a huge, like, energy driven adrenaline? I mean, was it exciting to be an announcer, or was it tedious in a sense that you had to have all the details right, or the people would be upset with you?
Well, there was all the adrenaline, the energy, and all of that. Obviously, that increased as the season went on, and we always had, the stations I worked for usually covered multiple teams, like teams in a league or something. So the top ones would go to the playoffs, and I saw some amazing, state championship teams in football and basketball and that sort of thing. But I do have to say, you mentioned tedious, because the technology that we had when I was doing this was 30 years ago. Boy, it's just so much. You can do a game on Wi-Fi now. I used to have to wire things out through a door in the gymnasium, down the wall, out across the parking lot to the station's van, just to get the games, beamed back to the station. So anyway, enough about that.
Well, that's pretty exciting, though. So you have a really interesting view on this, and I think it's going to be a great topic today to really discuss. We have a lot of men calling in, but I know there are women that either have to get ready for the Super Bowl or help entertain for the Super Bowl or watch the Super Bowl. So we want to hear from you as well. Don't leave me hanging with just all these men in the Super Bowl. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to dial if you want to get on this wonderful conversation about the Super Bowl. How do you celebrate? How do you, do you look forward to the Super Bowl? Is it something you dread? Maybe you choose to go to Mass during the evening of Super Bowl because it's not going to be very crowded in your church because everybody went in the morning because they're getting ready for the Super Bowl. You never know. That happened a couple years at the parish that I worked at. But we want to hear from you. So call in. Don't hesitate. Come on, women. Call in about the Super Bowl. 1-800-585-9396.
All right, let's get to our first break, and when we come back, your phone calls. Have you been to a Super Bowl? Love to hear about what your experience was like. Last time my beloved Oakland Raiders made the Super Bowl, I lived in San Diego when the game was there. Tickets never came down below about $1,800. Can you believe that? I mean, is the game even about the average fan anymore? We can talk about all of this at 800-585-9396. Give us a ring.
From the archives, this is the wisdom of Mother Angelica.
On many of you who have not been to confession for years, I'll make a bet it's on nothing. You're ashamed. There's nothing you could tell a priest he hasn't heard before. You don't want him to know who you are. Go to another city. Go to another state. Who's going to know who you are? God knows who you are. So all of these things that we're so afraid of, people's opinion, it doesn't mean anything. You know what our dear Lord said about other people's opinion? The opinion of men mean nothing to me. I always wondered how the liberals are going to interpret that inclusive language. They wouldn't dare say the opinion of women don't mean anything to me. It must be the opinions of people. Whatever it is, opinion made nothing to him. Why?
For more about Mother Angelica, visit EWTNRC.com.
This is John Martinoni, host of Open Line Monday.
Hello, this is Archbishop Charles J. Chaput, the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
This is Jerry Usher, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Well, happy Friday to you. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Don't go into the weekend without liking the EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook and also sharing and inviting your friends. We're trying to get to 5,000 likes. Will you help us? I know you can. Please, please help us. But right now we're talking about the Super Bowl, how you celebrate the Super Bowl. We want to hear from you. This is a conversation that evolves because of you. So if you don't partake in it, it's just Jerry and I talking back and forth and back and forth. So we want to hear from you.
Oh,
1-800. We actually have a good time going back and forth, though, sometimes. I mean, we should do that sometime. Just have a conversation. 1-800-585-9396. Jump in right now. But we're going to go right to Bob in Knoxville, Tennessee, who was just quickly dialing in, wanted to get in. I know you have something important to say, Bob. You're listening on Sirius XM 130. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I grew up a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and lately I've just become so disenchanted because it's no longer about the game. I could, what's it, about 4 hours from kickoff till the time it ends. I could DVR that game and watch in 15 minutes every single play where the ball is actually in play.
Right.
So you have a 60-minute timed game. It takes 4 hours, sometimes longer to play, and really about 15 minutes of that, the ball's in play. The rest of it's just all hype. I don't know, maybe it's boredom from winning so many Super Bowls.
Listen to
will
that.
Appreciate that, but I probably will not watch the game. I'll go across the street to a neighbor's house and have some good food for a little bit, and I got to get up early for work the next day. So that's kind of my take on the whole thing.
Well, Bob, first of all, as a sports fan, count your blessings that you can kind of get a little bit bored of winning Super Bowls. As a Raider fan, we won a few, but not as many as you. But I don't know if are you old enough to remember the Immaculate Reception?
I was the family had season tickets. I didn't go to that game, but we had season tickets during that time frame. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
It's
game was exciting back then.
It was, and I think I might be able to say I'm over that now. Here we are, 40 some odd years later. But Bob, I think you make some good points, and Debbie, I know you probably have some thoughts too. But Bob, you mentioned the 4 hours of the game, and then you add onto that the 4 or 5 or 6 hours of pregame show. You've even got ESPN, which does an all-day pregame show, and they're not the network carrying the game. So. And then, not to mention, of course, Debbie, they have the 2 weeks, not 1 week between the conference championships, but 2, so that you just keep the NFL brand, kind of in people's faces. I don't know. That's some thoughts that I had.
Well, and I just want to say thank you, Bob, because I do stand corrected, and I'm so happy that you were the first call, because when I did see all the male callers line up, I thought it was just going to be me kind of listening in to all guys, sharing statistics and this great game and this great game, and then when you started with too much hype and you could DVR it and just watch it in a condensed form, I was like, go Bob, go. So thanks, Bob. It really that made my day that I'm not the only one that is. I don't know. I agree. I just think there's just too much hype. But so thank you, Bob. We appreciate the call. Thank you for leading off the conversation. Let's see where the conversation goes. So keep listening. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your show.
Thank you. Pray for us.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I want to mention something, too, before we go to Rob in Portland, that I love the DVR idea. I DVR so many things so that I can fast forward through the meaningless parts. But a little bit of humor. I think it was, how long has it been, 2 or 3 years ago now, when the 49ers played the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had some things going on, so I wasn't able to watch live. So I DVR'd it, and that was the game where there was about a 20 or 30-minute power outage inside. It was inside a Dome Stadium. Oh. And so the DVR recording ended before the game did, because the game went extra long because of that power outage. So when I finally did sit down to watch the game, I didn't even get to see the exciting finish. So.
Oh, that's sad.
Did
anybody
feel awful for me?
I do. That's really sad. But I just have a smile on my face. I don't know why. I think people should give up the Super Bowl for Lent. I'm serious, like pre-Lent or something. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It is the Sunday right before Ash Wednesday. So
I know.
Let's see what's on Rob's mind in Portland, Oregon on Modern Day Radio. Rob, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You're on next.
Well, hello, Jerry and Debbie.
Hello, Rob.
Hi.
I just thought I would call in and tell you that I've given up the Super Bowl for Lent. And not really. Actually, we don't watch television at our house, so we only use the screen for things like old movies and old TV shows, so we don't have any cable or any of that sort of thing, and we just don't do the media, including the Super Bowl.
Wow, and you've survived. You've survived.
Right, you live to tell about it, Rob.
You live to tell.
A couple decades, anyway.
Praise God. But it sounds like you listen to Catholic radio, so that's awesome.
Yes, Catholic radio, and have been known to turn on the EWTN TV when it was available, when we were someplace. But
very cool.
Since we don't have any cable, we don't get that at home.
Yeah. So
you can do it on the internet, but it's not
right.
good.
So, Rob, let me ask you this question. So you hear about all of the hype. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, people talk about it in the workplace. It's everywhere. You can see it on streets and billboards. People have flags hanging out of their cars. I mean, it's everywhere. Do you feel like you're missing something, Rob?
Oh, not at all. No, because you can always, get some chips and guacamole yourself and, do something else. So,
that's right.
That's the high point of the game, isn't it? The snacking and all that.
Oh, that and Rob, I've got to ask you too. I mean, you're up there in Seahawks country, a little bit south of Seattle. So
I know there were a lot of sad people out here a little while ago. I tried to console them.
You wouldn't even watch if the Seahawks were in it. Are you saying or what?
No. I would. Yeah, actually, for a long time, I'd much rather play sports than watch them. So I've never really been that great of a fan of watching sports. So
okay.
Very cool.
Fair enough. Well, Rob, thank you very much for calling. Thanks for listening to Modern Day Radio, and give our best to everybody in Portland, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Okay, I've got a challenge. I want to hear from somebody. Call in if you go all out and you deck the house and you have the matching Super Bowl plates and you put the flags up and you do everything. I want to hear from somebody who goes all out and tell us why you do it. We're not here to, we want to learn. Who knows? We may, Jerry and I
There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, yeah, we might.
I think it's fun, actually.
Absolutely. And Jerry, who knows? We may pop in on their house on Sunday.
Debbie's just looking for a place to go to watch the game. So if you're within an easy drive of Phoenix, give us a call at 800-585-9396. I was just going to say the same thing, though. Our first couple of callers have been kind of down on watching the Super Bowl. But, I have a lot of fun. I'm going to watch it. I may be with friends. And, it can just be a real time of joy and true fellowship, if you're with people that you love and you don't take it too seriously and stuff. So definitely, as Debbie said, if you like to get into the spirit of the game, and maybe you're a Denver or a Carolina fan and your team is in it this year. Yeah. Well, I know that feeling. 800-585-9396. Got a lot of calls, Deb.
We sure do. So we want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. Here come the calls. Oh, this is going to get exciting. But we're going to move right along to Leo in North Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Leo, you've been waiting so patiently. Thank you so very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us.
We want to talk about the Super Bowl?
Yes, please.
Sure. What's your take on the game?
Well, I think it's a good event to have a championship like that. There's an awful lot of hoopla with it that's not very interesting. But I'm going to do something this year that I have never done in my life on Super Bowl Sunday.
Okay,
tell us. I'm
taking
my youngest granddaughter to a piano recital.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, that's so sweet. What's your granddaughter's name?
Her name is Greer Josephine.
Greer Josephine. How beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. So you'll have to take a picture of that so you can remember that's how you spent Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, I will never forget that. I'm sure. I haven't been able to attend one yet, but this year I will. And her parents are going to be out of town, so it's going to be meaningful for my wife and I.
Wow, so this is going on.
My wife will watch the Super Bowl, and I'll watch the granddaughter.
Your wife can text you updates or something, or you can follow it on Twitter or something. Leo, do you get on any of that stuff?
Do that, yes.
Oh, okay, good.
This is an interesting topic today. Thanks for doing it.
You're very welcome, Leo. Thank you. You helped make
Yeah.
the show very, very much today. We appreciate it. 1-800-585-9396 is the number. Let's see. Not sure who's next, so we'll just wait just a second here, Deb.
Yeah.
We got Matt's a busy guy right now, screening about 4 lines, so
He's
we'll
doing
let
a
him
great
get
job.
one of those ready.
Jerry, you know why I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I would love to hear from our listeners, what they feel, because it's so important. I mean, you drive the show, is that we have conversations that you just don't normally have. I mean, I was trying to think of the other day of some of our topics, and I have, quite a bit of friends, and we just don't talk about things, like that we're talking about on Take Two, which I think is really interesting, that we're able to do this in a very safe and beautiful and comforting and accepting platform. And, we're all trying to grow closer to God. And I think that's just it's a nice way to introduce topics so that we can, move forward. Just like, well, we're moving forward right now because Matt Gabinski's got Marianne. Thank you, Marianne, my first female caller, Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Marianne. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie.
Hey there.
I have a comment, and I think that one of the things we should do with the Super Bowl is pray, and that is because did you know that the Super Bowl is one of the biggest days for human trafficking in America?
I had not heard that. How so, Marianne? I mean, I'm not surprised, but how does that happen?
Here. Her name is Robin. This is her vocation, and it's a sad truth. In America, this is what happens during Super Bowl. Also, we have such incredible talent in America, and we have Lady Gaga sing the national anthem. It's just, I think we need to pray. I really mean that the forces of good are there and overcome the forces of evil that will be there as well.
Well, I'm sure Debbie and I
know
both...
you're a little taken aback, but I needed to call in. It's great to be in the spirit. I'm a football girl from when I was little. I won't tell you where I'm from. But I love football. My husband used to play football. We love the game. But this is what happens in America when we let things happen without talking about it and without putting a light on what is truly happening. So I just wanted to let you know, and you can let your other callers call in and see what they think.
Marianne, I wanted to say something quick about the 2 main points that you made. Lady Gaga, I don't know that much about her. I know enough to know that I don't want to watch her or listen to her music. But this is the kind of thing that, the Super Bowl and so many other things have just become very, very carnal. They have to raise the level of the carnal attraction to get people to tune in. You had the Janet Jackson, mishap, accident, quote unquote, several years ago. At a recent Super Bowl, Katy Perry was part of the halftime show. I don't know the truth of it, but there are a lot of reports that she has actually willfully sold her soul to the devil. So, these are the choices that are being made by, an organization like the NFL to present to us and to children, very, impressionable young people, these sorts of acts. Now, be that as it may, that's not for me to judge or anything. I just thought I'd share a couple of comments there. But, Debbie, I don't know if you've got anything. I wanted to know a little bit more about the human trafficking because, I'm aware that is a huge problem. I just didn't know that it kind of took a spike during the Super Bowl. Marianne, can you hang on during the break for just a second?
I can.
Okay, I want to know just real quickly. We got a lot of calls, but I want to know kind of what that looks like, Debbie, because I guess in many ways it would present itself as a good opportunity for that.
Absolutely. Well, think about this for a moment. Think about how Satan works. Okay, he's not going to appear and say, "Here I am," the devil right in front of you. He's going to come through something that is accepted, something that is a favorite pastime, something that is very easy and enjoyable to watch. I mean, Satan is clever. He's savvy. He's very, he understands what keeps our interest. So this doesn't surprise me, but I do want to hear more about it, Jerry, and I agree with you because this is something I hadn't heard before, and Marianne's going to hold on and maybe give us a quick version of what is happening so that we can all be aware. That's how great Take Two is. So stay with us. You hear that music? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Marianne's going to help us and open our eyes to exactly what's going on behind the Super Bowl. Be right back.
Get an insider's look at the latest information from EWTN. Sign up for Wings, EWTN's weekly email newsletter. Get the latest information about live events, special features, and guests. Connect with EWTN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just go to EWTN.com and click on the Wings link to sign up. Don't miss a minute of all that's happening at EWTN. Get your wings today.
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
You can only say that you're saved in Christ and that you act in cooperation with Him. That's the only way you can do it. And God's plan has ordained that the efficacy of the exercise of the ministry is also conditioned by a greater or lesser human receptivity and participation. Now let me go through that. The way that God set things up is that how efficacious, how well the sacraments work, if you will, and how well we cooperate with them depends on how much more we receive or how much less we receive. Are we receptive or are we closed-minded? I can pour a bucket of water over your head, but if your mouth isn't open, you're not going to get a drink. Same thing here. If your mind and heart are not open to Jesus, I can pour infinite amounts of grace all over you, but you're not going to receive a saving grace. That's what's key here.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
It's the start of a new day for Morning Catholic Radio.
Confidence is really important. We got to think people all over the country with social media, print media, individually and families and parishes are praying. You just think, feel the power. We're all uniting together.
Well, I know Jesus always answers my prayers. There are 3 standard answers. Yes, no, not yet.
That's my favorite. Morning Glory. Catholic from the start. Weekday mornings, 7 Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Now you've all got some great takes coming up, so if you are on hold there, you get to hear what we're discussing right now and hear the callers in front of you. So we appreciate your patience on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Marianne, real quick, back to you. We've got just a couple of minutes for this, but Debbie and I are both intrigued. We're very well aware of the problem of human trafficking, how it's just becoming just so much worse all the time. But how does the Super Bowl provide kind of an easy opportunity for that to happen?
Well, all you have to do is Google it. I became aware of it because I have a little cable show in Worcester, and this woman named Robin came and shared with us some of the victims she sees. But the first line in the Google article says, last February, Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott declared the Super Bowl, quote unquote, the single largest human trafficking incident in the United States. And it says over 10,000 prostitutes, many of whom were trafficking victims, were brought to, this is Miami, for the Super Bowl in 2010. And during the Dallas Super Bowl in 2011, there were 133 arrests for sex with minors, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So it's out there on the Internet. And again, I urge you, with this Catholic program we have, to end your show with a prayer that the angels will overcome the evil that may be going on in this event. And I ask your audience the same. Prayer changes everything.
Yeah, we will certainly do that, Marianne, and it's something I'm going to look into a little bit more. Again, having not heard about this, I find it to be a bit startling, but maybe not necessarily surprising, because as Debbie pointed out earlier, the Prince of Darkness misses no opportunity to advance his plans and his agenda. So, thanks, Marianne. We're going to get on to Michelle in Indiana, listening on the EWTN smartphone app. Michelle, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about the Super Bowl.
Hi. I was just calling in because I heard the caller that said that he didn't even have TV, and I was just calling to say we have 5 kids and we don't have TV, and we're going to survive too.
Yay, you survived too. That's awesome. And you sound like you're thriving too. You sound really happy.
Well, I mean, obviously we've made decisions about the TV for a lot of the culture the way it is today. So, and so then when it comes down to the Super Bowl, we don't really have a choice. But the one year we did watch it, we ended up spending so much time trying to jump for the remote for all the commercials and the halftime and everything that for a family it just comes down to it's really not worth it.
So, Michelle, let me ask you kind of a question. You said you had 5 children, if I heard that correctly. Okay. Now, let me ask you this, if you can share with our listeners, because this could help other families. Do your 5 kids, have they accepted it? Have they embraced the fact that they don't have television at their fingertips? And also, when they go over to friends' houses, is the first thing they do they grab the remote and watch TV?
No. We're pretty careful about where they do go, especially because of the TV, the computers, and all of that, the phones. Right. So we're pretty careful with that. We have a lot of discussions about it. So we talk about it a lot. We have covenant eyes on the computer, so we have a lot of discussions about if, it tells you where they hit on the computer and that kind of thing. So it opens up conversations if, about different topics of what they search on. So we have a lot of conversations. Right. They probably don't love it, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good about it. We do a lot of DVDs. We don't do TV on school nights. We do a lot of reading.
Wow, you're going to have really smart, successful kids. That's awesome. But you know what?
My husband and I don't watch TV either, so it's not like we're sitting around watching TV and they don't.
Wow. You know, Michelle, the thing that I love, and I think I was kind of sort of leading you into this, and I'm glad you shared it, is that I think one of the things when you make decisions in a home that may be different from what's going on in the mainstream world, I think it's so important to have those ongoing conversations. And you said it, a few times. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of times families will interject a rule or a new kind of policy or a new tradition in the family, but then there's never any ongoing talk about it or understanding. And so the kids, I know that the kids I used to get in youth ministry, they would say, well, we don't know why my family's doing this. Dad said it's going to happen and that's it. And so I love what you said about the ongoing conversations, and that always helps people to grow. So thank you, Michelle. Thanks for imparting that to us. And I think it might inspire others. Who knows? Maybe a lot of people will give up TV for Lent. You never know, Michelle.
Well, I hope so, because it doesn't hurt that much.
Thank you, Michelle, for your call. We appreciate it greatly. I should really, this is the only difference between me and Michelle and her family, Debbie, is I pay about $100 a month to not watch TV. Because I have one of the satellite services.
Oh yeah.
And it's just never on. Sometimes I'll walk past TV out into the den or something, and I think, well, let me flip the TV on. I grab the remote and I go, well, what am I going to watch?
Right.
EWTN. I love News Nightly with Brian Patrick and his team and other shows on EWTN.
I do too.
Really, the only reason I have TV is for a day like Sunday. And again, not that it becomes this religious experience for me. I want to watch the game kind of for entertainment, to see who wins, Peyton Manning winding down his career, blah, blah, blah. So it's really a sporting event here, a sporting event there, and then EWTN. So I've really got to, evaluate, my stewardship there, because I can't stand getting that monthly bill. Anyway, Raymond, thanks for waiting in Duluth, Georgia. You were listening on a Blaze Radio. You're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Raymond. Hello, Raymond.
Hi, this is Raymond.
How are you?
Oh, just fine.
Good.
Yeah, I wanted to call and let you guys know what I thought about it. That the Super Bowl actually has just become, as many of your other guys have talked about, it's just an ad production thing, and a whole lot of those ads are pretty bad. In fact, they're filthy. Mm-hmm. And while we all enjoy the horses and the dogs, you also get steeped in some pretty horrid stuff. And if you look at it biblically, you're watching a football game, and you can think back to the Beatitudes and things like that, and where God says you call somebody a fool. Jesus says you call somebody so much as a fool, and you're subject to Gehenna. Or if you're just watching somebody with unpure thoughts, the lustful thoughts in your heart, you've committed adultery with them. And kind of hard to get through a football game, especially a Super Bowl where everything is pretty much ramped up as far as the weirdness on the commercials and the level of undressed people running around. You walk out of a Super Bowl and you've got quite a few mortal sins on you that, unless you do something about it, they're going to be with you for a long time.
Yeah,
and that was my basic take on it.
Raymond, you've pinpointed something that it is a problem. We sort of touched upon it at the start of the show. I do get a kick out of the fact that companies really go all out, sometimes put together commercials that really sometimes can have you rolling on the floor, but other times, like you said, it's like you will watch the commercial, and after the commercial, you feel kind of dirty, and you say, "What was that a commercial for?" I mean, it's kind of like you look at some of the things that sex is used to sell. I mean, it doesn't. There's no connection whatsoever, except for the fact that say the target audience is guys, for example. It's a car battery commercial. And what do you have? You have half-dressed, beautiful women, in the commercial. I don't know, Raymond, do you have kids? Is that something you have to watch out for with kids?
No, my kids are older, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it because I don't have hormones plowing through my ears anymore. It's a lot easier for me. My kids are in their late 30s. I'm 56, and so
wow,
I can look at it a little bit differently.
Right.
And
right.
And as far as the football end of it goes, we enjoy the football, but we enjoy playing. When we watch football like when I was a kid with our family at halftime, we wouldn't sit around and watch a halftime show. We'd go outside and bother the neighbors because they were trying to drive to and fro, and we were hogging up the street with our football game.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what we did, and that's the way we treat football now. I go out with the grandkids and go out there and play football. Of course, I don't run as much, but that's just
Raymond, I just want to say again that I am so impressed with all of the male callers that have called in for the show. I mean, you guys are so awesome. And I just want to say, when you first started speaking, not that 56 is old or anything. I'm in my 50s now. I have to just tell you, phone solicitors, you must really be able to get past them very easily, because you sound very young on the air. I just wanted to let you know that. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. You could pretend like, you're the son of Raymond, But Raymond, yeah, I agree with you. Everything you said, I agree with you. I think it's right in your face all the time at Super Bowl. It kind of just, it just reeks of just being secular and everything, and relativism and everything that we, oppose as Catholic Christians. And
it's all basically a one-way ticket to hell. And, of course, most people don't even think about it that way, but I do.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. Well said, Raymond.
Yep, Raymond, thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend, and we appreciate you listening and calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. Anybody else have maybe a little different perspective? If you want to, we've been talking a lot about some of the downsides of the Super Bowl, some of the things to be, cautious about, some of the ads and these sorts of things, the halftime shows and all that. But maybe you're just someone who thinks, sports is just really wholesome, and we ought to, show our kids games like this where, you can grow up to be a professional athlete, and there is a chance to win something really significant in life. Maybe you feel that way. Or maybe just as a fan, you're in the office today right now, and you're, grabbing some of your coworkers and just, chit-chatting about who you think is going to win, who you want to win, or passing that office pool around.
I was just going to say that, Jerry. How about the private bets that go on all the time during Super Bowl? Is that okay? Is that a good example, for our children and stuff? I mean, I think there's all sorts of angles to the Super Bowl, and we're not making any judgments on it. I mean, Jerry was a sports announcer. I love playing sports as well. We just want to talk about it to see where we go from this. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going back to the phones, but I will tell you during the break, you have a few, seconds to call in. So you could get in if you feel prompted by the Spirit, you want to add to this discussion. Don't hesitate. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to get on. Okay, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. We're talking about the Super Bowl on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
EWTN is now on Twitter. Get short, timely messages from EWTN on your computer or cell phone. It's easy to stay up to date on a wide variety of topics. Pro-life news, Vatican announcements, catechesis, apologetics, the latest EWTN programming, and more. You can link to EWTN on Twitter from our homepage or go to twitter.com/EWTN. At work, at home, at school, and on the road. Stay connected to your world with EWTN's Twitter page. I greatly desire that a church be built in my honor, in which I will show my love, compassion, and protection. With these words, the Blessed Virgin transformed the beliefs of a nation. Now, Mexico is a land torn between faith and violence. This February, Pope Francis travels to Mexico for the first time to embrace the life and trials of its people. Pope Francis in Mexico, February 12th through 17th, here on EWTN.
Thanks for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Just want you to make sure that you set aside your Monday for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, because we're going to be talking about never-ending arguments. Never-ending arguments in your home, with your children, with your spouse. Those arguments that just keep going around and around. You don't get to the point, and you just keep having those same exact, that rhythm of that never-ending argument. So if you want to be part of that conversation, make sure you're part of Monday's show on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Okay, we're going to go right to Art in San Jose, California. Art, we're so glad you joined us on Take Two. What is your take on the Super Bowl?
Oh, hi. Thank you for taking my call. I love your show, and a subject like the Super Bowl can open up so many things. I didn't know it was going to have a wide range from anything from football to human trafficking. First of all, my thought on the game is that, we are surrounded by the liberal media, and they do what they want at the end of the day. But as Catholic Christians, I think we're required to make the best of it. I mean, we all have to take time and explain to our kids and say, hey, you know what? That's not right, or it's not supposed to be that way. Now, also, I remember last year, I was so happy to see Coach Lou Holtz on one of the commercials come out and say, Catholics come home. Mm-hmm. And I hope to see more commercials like that during a big event, to where, we do see some positive out of this, and also just take time to be with some friends and enjoy a good evening with our loved ones, really, But that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Well, I just wanted to share real quickly, because I was just so excited that you brought this up, and Art, I couldn't agree with you more. And I was so excited a couple years back when I saw Catholics Come Home and Virtue Media commercials. Something I think that is so important. And Tom Peterson, Virtue Media and Catholics Come Home, he's on EWTN. Please take a look at what they do. Tom is brilliant. Tom Peterson, he has an advertising background. I've known him for many, many years. He started in Gilbert, Arizona, where I'm from, and we were at the same parish, working at the same parish. And he is brilliant at making sure he gets airtime during the most watched reality, shows and events that happen. And you're absolutely right on and spot on that to have that Catholics Come Home commercial pop up in the middle of the Super Bowl, I was screaming and cheering at the TV set, Art. So thank you for reminding us of that, and it also gives us a great reminder that wonderful apostolates, wonderful ministries like Catholics Come Home and Virtue Media are things that we need to really look into and maybe put our time, talent, and treasure in so that we can help continue that. So way to go. I was just jumping up and down, Art. I couldn't wait. So, Jerry?
I wanted to add that Joan on our Facebook page, by the way, like EWTN Catholic Radio on Facebook, you can comment about the show and we may use it on the air. Joan said, I just read that Father Joe Mulligan will be offering Mass to the Carolina Panthers players, coaches, and families prior to the Super Bowl. So she was pretty excited about that. And we do know there are a lot of teams that have chaplains, including many times Catholic priests. So, Art, you raised some good points. You have made a great contribution today to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we appreciate you calling. We're going to stay in the state of California, go to Saratoga, and invite Peggy, who's listening to Sirius XM 130. Hi, Peggy. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say that I am a 49er faithful. I absolutely love my team, and I live about half an hour from where the Super Bowl will be played this year. Okay. And as a wife, I enjoy the game, but I hate the bad behavior from some of the players. I dearly love the ones who've been promoting, the love of God and love of each other, and we've been able to see many players this past year make the sign of a cross after a play or a touchdown. But sex trafficking is a real problem down here. It's been discussed in the community for over a year. The Catholic schools have addressed it, social clubs are addressing it, and the local news is covering it. This week they showed one of the Denver practice team players who was caught for sex trafficking at one of the local motels, and thankfully the team sent him home. So I think the message is slowly getting across. I don't like the wardrobe malfunctions and the bad language, and I do love the Clydesdales and the dog. But
right.
So there are people who enjoy it. My husband and I just sit at home and watch the game by ourselves. Our younger members, the kids, have the big Super Bowl parties, and we don't go to those. They just have fun with that, and we're very happy. And we just flip through all the commercials.
Yeah, and Peggy, it's funny, you used that euphemism that was coined after the Janet Jackson thing, the wardrobe malfunction. I never thought that was an accident, but maybe I'm, a glass half full guy on something like that. But, oh goodness, the short-term memory is awful. I was going to comment on something here.
That's okay. We forgive you. Because I have it every day.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay. See?
Yeah,
I give him
Peggy.
a little time, dear listeners, and he remembers. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned the bad behavior by the players, and I had not heard about that Denver player, but this is another thing we need to do a show on, its own show sometime because, and not to pick on him. He's just one of many, but, I was reading this morning that, Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel is in trouble again. He and his girlfriend were out drinking, and he kind of dragged her into the car and said, "Get in or I'll kill us both." And, this may be sort of getting toward the end of his time with the Browns, but how many chances, if Debbie, you or I, or just about anybody else who worked in corporate America did some of the things these players do, we'd never work at that company again, and it would be hard to get work at, another company. We're talking about assault and violence and, threatening to kill people and stuff. So I don't know, Peggy, anything you want to add to that before we let you go and get your face paint on?
One last thought. As much as I love football, I really wish the games were not on Sundays. To me, Sunday is the Lord's Day. My husband and I go to Mass before the game. We pray for the players to all stay safe, but Sunday shouldn't be for the sports, even the kids' sports. Sunday should be for God. So hopefully these players are attending the Mass before and remembering where their strength and where their source of accomplishment comes from. Praise God, and we enjoy the game too.
Way to go, Peggy. Amen to that. A big, big amen to that. Okay, thank you so much, Peggy. Enjoy the weekend. We're going to move very quickly to Cindy. We wanted to make sure we got to you, Cindy, before the show closed out. So you're going to be in Walla Walla, Washington. I love saying that. I could say that 20 times fast, listening on Sacred Heart Radio. Hi, Cindy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm on KHSS radio. That's okay.
Okay.
I remember I'm old enough that I remember the very first Super Bowl 50 years ago. And within 10 years, I'm also a registered nurse. And within 10 years, the medical industry was looking at the trending of how much domestic violence went up on Super Bowl Sunday. And it still remains one of the largest days of the year where domestic violence is out of hand. And, I think it was appropriately set that the Super Bowl comes before Ash Wednesday and the Lenten season because it truly is a Mardi Gras. There's a lot of things that go on during that time that we would not normally do. And besides that, I'm a baseball fan, and, the World Series is usually never on a Sunday. It's on whatever day of the week it falls. So I just, going back to baseball, that's my thing. So.
Yeah, Cindy, and that whole thing that you and then Peggy before you had brought up about all of this on Sunday, boy, it really should. I don't think it provides enough of a dilemma for those of us who want to keep holy the Lord's Day, especially parents, when it comes to soccer and stuff. I don't think it provides as much of a dilemma as maybe it should, because it really should be, Debbie, something that causes us to go, wait a minute, I want my child, for example, to be in sports, but is the Lord's Day the right day to do that? I think parents really should, give a little bit more serious thought to that.
Right, absolutely. And Cindy, you made some excellent points. And I just want to say you're in good company, Cindy, that you love baseball, because Bishop Olmsted of the Diocese of Phoenix, that's his favorite sport. So you're in good company there. There you go, Cindy. And we appreciate you being a registered nurse. I always have to say that. I love nurses. Nurses are so amazing. So thank you for all the work you've done to help us in the community, Cindy. God bless you.
Thanks, Cindy, for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie as we wind down this show and this week.
Already?
Yeah, just maybe one other quick point, Debbie. Both of us might want to have a thought on this. She mentioned the domestic violence issue, and that would seem to make a lot of sense, from a lot of angles, because, there's certainly drinking that goes on. The guys get together, and of course, domestic violence, I guess, could go both ways. Typically, it's the males doing it, but I don't know. Maybe a day like that just makes a guy feel just sort of extra, manly and gets a little bit chippy and aggressive. I don't know. I just pure speculation here.
Oh, yes, I agree with you. And also you add in the factor that you do have, like our previous callers have stated, that there's that occasion to sin, either looking at an ad that is not appropriate, for us as Catholic Christians. And so that also stirs up different feelings of inside of people, and it's not good. It's not a good energy. And so it's, that's the thing that we always have to remember. Like I always tell kids all the time, if you're going to take part in the world, balance it all with adoration or going to mass or doing something that can really help your soul. That's my takeaway, Jerry.
Well, my takeaway is I'm hoping that the devout Catholic head coach of my team, Jack Del Rio, brings the Raiders back to glory. I was going to say I'm going to boycott the Super Bowl until they play in it again, but I may not watch a Super Bowl for quite a long time. So I'm just hoping and praying he's the right guy. Great Catholic man, Jack Del Rio. Debbie, on Monday, a topic that we really want people to be preparing for over the weekend.
We sure do. Start thinking about it. Never-ending arguments in your home or in your workplace. We want you to join us on Take Two. But until then, Jerry and I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed weekend. See you on Monday.